Hey everybody, set to go. Big doings on Halloween Day here at Gulfstream Park West with Jason and Ronnie. A mandatory cash out in the Rainbow Six. We may have $1 million or more up for grabs. And Ronnie, I feel pretty comfortable saying this is a very difficult sequence.
Very, very difficult sequence. So you're really going to have your handicapping hats tied on real tight because it's a tough sequence. But that's the beauty of it. You got a chance to really make a nice payday out of this Rainbow Six.
Now, I'm going to start here. I'm 1-2-8 in this opening leg. I know we've got your long shot who we'll hear from in just a second or hear about in just a second. Again, 1-2-8 for me to start. I do prefer Hard West, who won seemingly 2 days ago, but was so good last weekend for trainer Rohan Crichton.
Yeah, I went, as you mentioned, with my Halloween hunch play, and that's the 5 London Werewolf. Besides the great name on Halloween, he's wheeling back. He broke from the rail. He dueled throughout, and he finished a hard 4/3 at the same level and distance. It was speed play for me. I used Deckology instead in there. So right away, we're starting off, Jason, a little differently than each other.
Were you, I mean, speaking of London Werewolf, and you couldn't script it any better
Right.
running on Halloween, I mean, growing up, were you a big fan of, like, the Universal horror monsters?
No, not really. Never was a big fan of monsters. I lived in Corona, Queens, where we had enough real monsters to deal with.
Right, I was going to say, were you more inclined to the gangster films growing
Yeah,
up?
that's exactly. We had to.
All right, yeah, exactly. Keep you in line. All right, so the 5th race, we'll head on to the turf course for the 5th. It's funny, your long shot's in the 4th. I've got a bit of a goofy idea here. I'm going to go 1-2-3, and I obviously prefer horses with inside posts. Speaking of like old school movies, I'm taking Cramden in this one. I'm willing to throw out his last race, and he's going to be a good price for Mark Casse. I don't really care about his recent race, and I do like how this horse improved in his second start. I'm 1-2-3, Ronnie in the 5th. Who do you have?
Well, I have the 1 and 3. It's funny because I picked Cramden last time, tried to get that one to win. I went with Al Rahad, who's 2 for 3 in the money on the turf. Goes back to the lawn after moving to the Rashawn Creaky barn. That race was 7 furlongs. He's a gelded son of Street Cry. So I'm trying to score with him with Christian Torres, who had 2 impressive turf victories this week. So he's been riding well on the turf. I used I Capote and Sensazione as my other ticket.
Yeah,
another
no,
horse.
absolutely. No, they're major players, both those horses. Now, the 6th is a make or break for me in this race. I mean, assuming I get there, of course, but I've got my single here, and I'm pretty confident and bullish on Kathleen's horse. The number 2 Friendly Fella was bias compromised in a tough loss here back on October 4th. I also think, though, tough trip aside or taxing trip aside, got an important race off the layoff under this gelding's belt, and I think he's in a good spot here. I like the deuce Friendly Fella. He's my single on the ticket.
Well, I went too deep in this race and using your horse, Friendly Fella, but I also used Harper Go Lucky, who's wheeling back for Joe Asino, Rajiv Mirage. But I think Friendly Fella, I was almost going to single that horse, but I did go too deep in that spot.
No, Harper Go Lucky looks like, assuming this race is pretty formful or plays out the way it does look on paper, he is the other horse without a doubt. A 7th race will go as the Saturday feature, and it's a good race for sure. And we were just talking before we got mic'd up, and we like the same 3 horses. And my gut feeling and my intuition says the likes of the 2 Flow Motion, the number 8 horse Rhythmia, and then the very likable and very speedy Sir Seamus. They're not in a race by themselves, but I really, truly feel they are the 3 most talented horses by a pretty wide margin. So I'm 2-8-12 in the 7th.
Yeah, and I'm 2-12 and 8, so we're thinking of like near Flow Motion making his local return at 7.5. A couple of sharp efforts going longer in the summer campaign at Monmouth. Sir Seamus, you have to respect, had that 3-race win streak, and Rhythmia, a good horse. So 3 deep for both of us there.
And I'm a 3-horse spread in the 8th as we move on to the sequence's final dirt race, which will go in Saturday's 8th at Gulfstream West. And I've got 3 logicals. I prefer the 2 Halawala, who's off a layoff at a trader change to J.C. Avila. But I'm using that filly by Candy Ride, the 5 horse in Addilyn for Antonio, And I think the 6 Shea Paris off that good effort last time out, maybe slightly is the filly to beat in the race.
Well, I got Shea Paris on there, and I also use Bargainaire, but I do have Halawala on top of my ticket, coming out of a Monster Key race. 5 winners from 10 next out starters, $200,000 daughter of Candy Wright. So 2, 6, and 3 for me in race number 8.
And I am closing things out in the nightcap. We hope it's a winning close for all of you listening and playing, and we appreciate that. I've got 4 here. I've got breathing room if I can make it this far. 4, 5, 8, and 11. You know, the race is probably centered around the presence of the 5 Reiterate, but I didn't love her last race. Is she a use defensively? Absolutely, but I'm 4, 5, 8, 11 because I just don't trust the 5 Reiterate.
Well, I'm 3 deep in there with 5, 8, 11. I do have Reiterate, also Since-A-Million, and then Neat there for Antonio Sano. I think might run well in that spot.
So your ticket, Ronnie, was a clock in right around $100?
$97.20 because I went too deep in that race where you singled.
Yeah, I've got a $64.80 play, hoping, of course, I can get my single home in the 6th. However you see the sequence, everybody, best of luck. We appreciate you playing the races at Gulfstream Park West. And again, best of luck in that Rainbow 6.